Hey yogis, and welcome to your Thanksgiving flow. My name's Paige, if you haven't practiced with me before. I'm excited to bring this Thanksgiving themed yoga class to you. And so let's begin just starting flat on our backs. We'll come down onto our mat. And I'll stay seated while you guys go ahead and lie down flat. As you're coming into your starting position and your starting form, start to tune into a few things regarding your current state. So looking at the breath and how quickly you're inhaling and exhaling, also looking at the depth of the breath, and then just noticing how the body is responding. So you might notice some expansion through the ribs or through the chest. And then noticing any tension you may be storing in the face, head, or shoulders. So softening the jaw, softening the ears, and softening that space between the eyebrows. For today's practice, we're going to guide our breath in and out through the nostrils. And try to keep just a small space in between the teeth. Allow the tongue to widen at the bottom of the mouth, or maybe even press against the roof of the mouth. And now, looking at the breath a little deeper. Taking as much time as we can to complete the inhales and exhales, lengthening both portions of the breath. And there's a breathing practice called Ujjayi breath that I'd like to share with you. Ujjayi breath works in a couple different ways for us. Number one, it helps to keep the body heated. So it's an intention behind the breath to help us move and help us stay warm. The second part of the second benefit behind our Ujjayi breathing is that it has a meditative sound. And so I like to compare it to a Darth Vader sound. If you're familiar with who Darth Vader is, then there's kind of an ocean wave or a constriction into the back of the throat. And so this sound becomes meditative as we move throughout our practice. And if the mind starts to wander, that meditative sound can help anchor us back to the present moment, to the present practice. And so I invite you to give it a shot, give it a try. Just adding a little constriction, almost like you're going to make the sound of a snore. Breathing in and out, keeping the breath moving through the nostrils while allowing the back of the throat to open, feeling the passageway clear. And for this special Thanksgiving practice, let's set an intention of gratitude. So I invite you to take a moment. Maybe you have your own gratitude practice, or maybe you'd like to just take a moment and think of 3 things for which you're grateful. And as always, remember, this practice is yours. Here's one thing I'm grateful for. Come on, get back up in your bed. This practice is yours. Take rest when you need it. Take water when needed. Take variations of these movements or postures. Have a great practice and a happy Thanksgiving. All right. From our backs, we'll extend the limbs in opposite directions. Arms are going to come up overhead, pointing and flexing through the toes. You might even interlace your hands and flip the palms away from the body, feeling that full stretch through the chest and the armpits. And now you may notice the spine starting to inch away from the mat, or the natural curvature in our spine disconnecting us from the earth. And so take a moment, maybe reposition your pelvis or your shoulders to help feel more supported from the earth underneath you. And continuing that mindful breath in and out through the nostrils. On your next exhale, let's draw the right leg in towards the body. We'll take our hands around the shin. Now, the right foot can stay, in any type of natural position that feels okay for you. The left leg, we want to imagine what this would look like if we were standing. And so the left leg will feel more active. You'll feel a flex into the foot. Take both hands around the right shin and then draw the knee in towards the armpit as opposed to bringing it directly into the chest. Have a little bit of a wider space with the hip. And then you might enjoy just kind of rocking side to side, moving the hip joint. And as you practice your Ujjayi breath or just your nostril breathing, you can feel the belly pressing against the thigh, offering a bit of a massage. We'll then take the hands behind the leg, behind the hamstring or the calf, and then let's find some extension through the back of the leg. So you might start to press at about 60%. This is our first stretch through the back of the leg today. So we want to be gentle with the hamstring, being careful not to feel any tension behind the knee or at our sit bone. While we're here, reconnecting the spine to the earth. So as we start to split the legs, our tailbone will have a tendency to lift away from the floor. So this time, just focus on lowering the tailbone down, not necessarily bringing the leg any closer to you or straightening the leg any more than it wants to naturally. Just work from the back of the body. Draw the shoulders a little deeper underneath you, anchor the tailbone to the mat, and then you can explore different sensations into the back of the leg with simply pointing and flexing the foot. From here, we'll want to combine both of these movements. So the squeezing in of the thigh along with the extension into the back of the leg and the sole of the foot showing to the sky will come into a half happy baby. So bring the knee just outside of your ribs. You can hold on to the big toe with your peace fingers, your index and your middle, or you might just take hold of the outside or the inside of the foot with the entire hand. Be mindful of the shoulders. Keep the shoulders connected, the back ribs connected to the mat, and the tailbone connected. Now, if the left hip and the left sit bone are starting to creep away from your mat or from the floor, then maybe take that left hand and just guide them back down. We'll take one more inhale and then allow the exhale to draw the leg back through center. We'll come back to this tucked position, taking the hands around the shin. Let's make a couple circles with the ankle if we've drawn up any tension into the foot. Maybe spread the toes, wiggle the foot around, and take a deep inhale through your nose. Pause and hold the breath at the top of the inhale. Hold for 1, 2, and now release the breath and release the leg. Right leg comes back down to meet the left. We'll start that same sequence of movement on the opposite side. So drawing our left leg in, remembering those little points, such as taking the knee in the direction of the armpit, keeping the natural curve in the spine connected to the mat, and extending that right leg as if we were standing. Hands will come around the shin. And now you can start to find the movement into your hip joint if you'd like to rock side to side, moving the leg across the belly and then back to the outside. We'll begin to take the hands behind the leg and start to extend the leg up towards the sky, maybe pointing and flexing the foot, being very gentle. So not giving our 100% effort here, only working at about 60-65%. Anchoring the tailbone down, keeping the sit bones equal. And then moving into our half happy baby. So holding on to the big toe, when we take our peace fingers around our big toe and make a little hook, we call that a yogi toe bind. And so that's a mudra that we use in a lot of our postures. It's good to get to know that one if you like practicing yoga. And I think you'll have a better view from this side. You'll notice that I'm keeping my elbow and my arm on the inside of my leg, and then my knee is on the outside of my ribs. Sole of the foot showing to the sky. So some of our natural tendencies is just to kind of have the foot down towards the pelvic region. See if you can bring the foot towards the sky. Another natural tendency is the opposite hip or the opposite leg moving away from the mat or the floor. And remember, that right hand is there to assist you. And now let's draw the left leg back in, releasing our toe bind, and then move through your foot here. Separate the toes, point and flex your foot. Take an inhale through the nose and hold the breath. Feel the breath move to the back of the ribs. Hold for 3, 2, release the leg, release the breath. We'll once again extend the arms and the legs in opposite directions, full body stretch. And now bring the arms down along the sides. Feel the back of the body reconnect to the mat. So as we start to move here, you may notice your collarbones start to soften, and gradually you're drawing the shoulders a little bit further underneath you so that the heart rises. Let's go ahead and bend into our knees. Feet are hip width distance apart, no wider than your shoulders here. We're going to pick our right foot up and cross it over our left. So we're heading into a posture called reclined pigeon. I thought adding in some bird postures would be adorable for our Thanksgiving flow. So here's your first one, yogis. Our reclined pigeon, the legs are in a figure 4. My right ankle is resting just below my left knee, and I have an active flex into my right foot. This is going to help protect my knee joint. There's pressure coming onto the foot from the side, and with a hinge joint, activity to support those ligaments and muscles is important. Let's start to take the hands maybe behind that left hamstring, or potentially even all the way around the shin. So I have rather short arms. I'm going to keep my hands around my hamstring because some other things that I want to focus on, I invite you to do the same, is keeping the tailbone down so that the natural curve in my spine is working for me. I want to keep the shoulders down. I want to keep the back of my neck nice and long and not being, I call this the Pez dispenser head. And so it's always a no-no in yoga unless otherwise directed. Want to keep the back of the neck long. We celebrate a double chin here, so go for it. Hands come behind the hamstring and then soften. As you soften, you might notice that the legs come a little closer to the body. Should be feeling a deep stretch through the back side of your right glute, the right hip. And you can increase the stretch by engaging your biceps, drawing the legs in a little closer. Let's take one more inhale. And as you exhale, bring your left foot back down, release the legs, and simply cross your right knee over top of the left. So now we're going to wind the legs up. Let's lift that left foot up so we have a little space underneath to wrap our right foot around the back of the left calf. We refer to this as eagle legs. When we have our right positioned over top of our left, we can do something similar with the arms taking our left over our right. So maybe you just cross the arms and reach for opposite shoulders. You potentially wind the arms up very similar to the way the legs are steady. Now, we're going to draw the knees and the elbows towards one another 5 times for a little eagle crunch. Take an inhale with your back flat against the mat and exhale as you lift. Inhale as you lower. Exhale as you lift. Couple more times here. Inhale as you lower. Exhale, squeeze and contract. One more. Inhale, lowering. And exhale, lifting. We'll release back down. Bring the arms out into a T. Lower the left foot to the mat. Lower the right foot down along the side. And we'll come back to our pigeon setup, this figure 4. So if you're not feeling a stretch into the hips, you may want to just investigate taking your hand to the inside of your thigh, stay away from the knee joint, and press the femur bone away from you. Femur is your thigh bone. That can open the hip a little bit deeper and set you up for a deeper stretch. You can then start to bring the hands behind your right hamstring, or for those of you who are either very flexible or have longer arms, you can take the hand around the shin. Let's pause here and explore this stretch. Remembering the natural curve in the spine, the back of the neck, the shoulders, and lifting from the heart with every inhale. All right, yogis, go ahead, release the right leg down. So now we find that eagle form with our left leg on top. Wind the legs up, lift both feet away from the mat. Bring the arms out so that you can now cross right arm over top of the left. Wind up the arms and prepare for some crunches. Take an inhale with your back flat and exhale, lift and crunch. 4 more, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, last one. Inhale as you lower and exhale as you lift. Return back to the mat, release the arms, unwind the legs. Step your feet as wide as your mat. We'll start to let the knees fall to the right side in a windshield wiper fashion and then falling to the left side, windshield wiper fashion. You can link your breath to this movement as you rock side to side, inhaling towards one side, exhaling to the other. And then we're going to come on to our bellies, setting up for some back bends. So we'll start stacking one forearm on top of the other. Let's bring our big toes together and let our heels splay out towards the sides and rest your forehead on the top forearm. Here you may notice as you breathe that you're using some space in the back of the body. Now that we've blocked the belly, this forces us to reposition where we're taking up space as we breathe. And so that's kind of the goal of being on your belly here. So allow that to happen. Take some deep inhales and exhales. And then we'll begin to move into our first little miniature back bend, our Sphinx pose. So a couple points on Sphinx. We want to make sure that we're staying active through the shoulder girdle, that we're pressing the floor away. The hands are nice and wide, fingers all moving away from one another. And once again, we want to keep the back of the neck in a long position. So looking down towards the mat. A couple other things to look for, and this sets us up for all back bends. So these things that I'm saying, keep them in mind when we move into more back bends. You want to keep your glutes soft. So tightening the buttocks can start to cause tension in your lumbar spine. And in every back bend, this is true, we want to keep tension out of the lumbar spine. And so another way that you can help the lumbar spine is to engage the belly. Lifting your belly button away from the mat, you can instantly feel some relief into the lower back. Can take this a little deeper if you think about pressing the 2 hip points towards one another and hollowing out that cave into the pelvis. Let's take a couple more breaths here. And now, we'll bring our right arm so that it's parallel to the top of the mat. So I just moved my fingers over towards my left elbow. I'm going to bend into the left knee, take my left hand and reach back and see if I can find my foot here. And so this is a half swan pose. There's your third bird. All right. So as I'm pressing my foot into my hand, I'm allowing my chest to open, getting a nice deep stretch through my pec here. Keeping the glutes soft, keeping the belly lifted, belly button helping out the spine. And then let's release. We'll just change sides. So now left forearm is supporting our upper body. Take the right hand back towards the right foot as you bend into your right knee. A little external rotation in the shoulder so that your thumb is pointing up towards the ceiling can be useful. And now let's release. We'll lower all the way back down to the mat, bringing the hands alongside the chest and pressing into a tabletop position. From tabletop, we can tuck our toes, begin to find your first downward facing dog. So lifting the knees, pressing into the fingers as you bring the hips behind you, and then pedaling your feet for your first down dog. Keep the gaze back between your legs. And now shift your gaze between your hands and start to walk your feet up to meet the hands. We'll come into a forward fold. So I'm actually going to try and stay at the center of my mat. I'll bring my hands back towards my feet, but you can walk up towards the top of your own. Now, forward folds. I'm going to pause for a minute here and just give you a little information about a safe forward fold. I always encourage my students to bend their knees so much that their belly comes to relax on top of the thighs. Here's why. If you have your legs straight and you don't have the flexibility in the hamstrings or that back line of fascia, it can cause your spine to round. So if your forward bend looks similar to this or something like this with a round spine, bend your knees, press your tailbone back, bring the belly down to the legs. Here's why. A position like this, again, puts pressure into the lumbar vertebrae. And so lots of injuries happen in yoga if you're not careful, right? Yoga is supposed to be helpful in keeping us healthy, keeping our bodies moving correctly. So this actually puts you at risk of injuring your lower back. If you bend the knees, if you rest the belly on the legs, you're in a much better position, much safer position. Something else you'll notice is that you're able to be more comfortable as you lower into the floor. So while we're here, let's take a couple little half lifts. As you inhale, keep that bend in the knees, bring the heart forward, look just slightly at maybe 12 to 15 inches in front of your feet, and exhale, fold down. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. One more time. Inhale, lifting halfway. Exhale, fold. And now, as we come up, we're going to sweep our arms to the sides. I want you to think about that position of the spine. So engaging the core, supporting a nice long back. We'll lift all the way up, connect palms overhead, and then bring the hands to the heart. I'm sure you're doing a great job, yogis. All right. Moving through our warrior sequence, we'll start with a warrior two. Starting on the right side, your right toes are going to point away from you. Find a deep bend into your right knee and have about one of your own legs distance between your 2 feet. As you become a more advanced yogi, you want to think about getting your hamstring as parallel to the floor as possible. Something that's true for all stages of our practice is that our knee should stay aligned with our first and second toe so that we're not collapsing to the inside or overly rotating to the outside. Our pelvis should be open towards the long side of the mat. We'll reach the arms out to the sides and then just twist the head to look over the right fingertips. So what I see happen a lot is that people move their chest. Bring your chest so that it too is parallel to the long side of the mat along with the pelvis. Look over the right middle fingers. While we're here, drop the left hand, flip your right palm, keep the integrity of the bend in the right leg as you exalt your warrior. Lots of space through this right side of the body. Take one more inhale, and as you exhale, come back to your warrior two. And now adding a little variation into this warrior two, keeping the bend in the knee. Let's find eagle arms. So here, we're going to take left over top of the right. Again, going for your shoulders or winding them up so that they're similar to a bread tie. If you have wound up the arms, see if you can lift the elbows in line with the shoulders. Keep them there as we move into a fold. Take an inhale and exhale, bow to the inside of the right leg. Let the fingertips graze the mat. Inhale as you rise back up. Exhale as you fold. We'll do this once more. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, folding. Inhale, rise back up. Release the arms back to warrior. Find your warrior two. Bring the hands to the hips. Straighten out the right leg. Pivot the feet. So now both sets of your toes are pointing towards the long side of the mat. We're going to set up for a forward fold here. Thinking back to our forward fold with our feet together. Keep your knees bent to protect the lower back. Hi, friend. Go lay down. Come on. All right. So soft bend into the knees. Let's start with the hands at the hips. Inhale up past the collarbones to lift your heart. And exhale, fold forward. Once you catch sight of the mat, bring the hands down to the mat and look between the legs. After you've enjoyed a few breaths here, we're going to move into our Skandasana or side squat sequence. So starting to bend into the right knee, we'll walk our hands over towards the right foot. We're rolling up onto our left heel and lower your hips down towards your right heel. Bring your hands to your heart or keep the hands down at the mat. Another variation is to leave one hand at the mat while you reach the left arm up. So you'll notice my right arm's on the inside of my right leg. I can use that as a lever, pressing those two against one another and opening that left arm up towards the sky. At the same time, my chest is spinning. My hips are staying square towards the long side of the mat. And now we want to move over to the other side. So we'll place the hands back at the mat and moving with intention, nice and slow. Start to press back through your wide leg fold. Continue to walk the hands. Soften into the left side and come up onto your right heel. Again, options with the hands. A balance challenge can be bringing the hands to the heart. You can keep one hand at the mat and reach the opposite arm up towards the sky, or both hands can stay at the mat. Hold here for 3, 2, on 1, lower the right hand down. We'll head back into our fold. Straighten out the left leg, bring the hands back through center. Take another breath or two here. Next inhale, come halfway up. Bring your hands to your hips, exhale in place, and inhale as you rise all the way up. Very nice. Now our legs are in a great position to head into our warrior two on the left. Bend into your left knee. Remember, we want to stay open towards the long side of the mat. Reach the arms out to the sides. Send your gaze over the left middle finger. From here, we'll exalt, dropping the right hand, flipping your left palm, and lifting the fingertips up towards the sky. And gaze can stay at the inside of the bicep. So again, we want to avoid the Pez dispenser head. Head back to your warrior two. And this time, going into our eagle arms, our right arm is going to cross over the left. Winding them up, lifting through the elbows. Take an inhale. Exhale as you bow into your warrior. Inhale, rising back up, engage the core, engage the hamstring. Lift, exhale, lower. One more, inhale as you lift. And exhale as you lower. One more time, inhaling as we come up. Release the arms back to your warrior two. Straighten out your left leg. Bring the hands to the hips. Pivot the feet and then inch your feet in towards one another in a heel-toe fashion. All right. So now that we've explored eagle from our backs, let's explore a balanced version of eagle. All right. We'll start by coming into our chair pose. Begin to sink your hips. Make sure that the knees aren't shooting way out past the toes. You want to be able to see your toe tips here. At the same time, we want to keep the heart lifted. We don't want to be in our skier's position. You want to stay somewhat upright. All right, let's bring the hands to the heart to begin. Begin to lift the right heel. So pop your right knee, shift your balance onto your left leg. Bring that right leg up and wrap it around, taking the foot to the back of your calf, or just letting the foot come down along the outside of the left. Let's do our eagle arms, bringing the arms out nice and wide. This time left is going to go across the right, wind them up or go for opposite shoulders. And we'll find a little contraction here. Inhale as you lift, pull the arms up towards the sky. And exhale as you bow down. Inhale, lifting. And exhale as you lower. One more time, inhale as you lift. Exhale, contract and bow down. Coming back to neutral on an inhale. Release the arms to a T. Pick the right foot up, carry it back to the outside of the left. Take an inhale as you stand all the way up, connect the palms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lifting up halfway. And exhale, sink the hips, come back into your chair pose. Hands will come to the heart, peek down, make sure you can see your toes. And now, start to lift your left heel. Pick the left leg up, cross it over. Wrap the legs around each other nice and tight, or allow the left toes to support you on the outside of your right foot. Reach the arms to the side. Now, who knows which arm goes on top? You guessed it, the right. Crosses over the left. Wind them up. Inhale as you lift. Exhale, contract. Inhale, lift. Exhale, contract. Once more, inhale as you rise. Exhale as you lower. Rise back up as you inhale. Release the arms as you exhale. Mindfully pick the left foot up, set it back down next to the right. Inhale, stand all the way up, connect your palms overhead, and exhale, bow down. Take that half lift as you come up in your inhale. This time as you exhale, bring the hands down to the mat, and let's drop our knees down, coming into what we refer to as Virasana, just sitting back on our feet. Let the hands rest at the top of the legs, and pause here for a resting breath. All right, yogis, coming into our hands and knees. We're going to set up a pigeon pose. I'll offer some variations of pigeon. It can become pretty intense. So if you're ready for a full pigeon, we'll start at the most accurate or most expressive pigeon, and then I'll offer variations from there. Let's take our right knee in the direction of the right wrist, and we'll take our right ankle in the direction of the left wrist. So you'll notice that the shin starts to become parallel to the top of the mat, and we can slide our left leg back. Some important adjustments: you want to bring your knee to the outside of the body. So you don't want it in line with the belly button. You want your ankle in line with the belly button. If it feels really intense, having the left leg back behind you, you can just kind of shift over onto the right hip and slightly bend your left knee. So you're almost in like a shin box, like 90 degrees of one bend, 90 degrees in the other bend. You can also take the version of pigeon that we did on our back. If that felt more integral for your body, then you can just head there for your second version. Otherwise, then maybe you want to start to lower the belly down towards the legs. You can lengthen the arms in front of you. You can cross the arms. If you have yoga blocks at home, I like to use a yoga block underneath my right hip or underneath my forehead for support. Wherever you are, whatever you're comfortable with, we'll stay here for 3 breaths. We want to mindfully start to come out of this posture, coming up onto our hands, lifting the chest, lifting the heart. And we can tuck the left toes behind us and start to move back into that tabletop position. And now pause for just a moment and notice the sensations on the right side versus the left. And you might enjoy taking a downward facing dog to kind of move the energy through the hips. You can pedal feet here. You can shift the hips side to side. And then let's prepare for that same movement on the opposite side. We'll take our left knee, begin to draw it towards your left wrist. Take your left ankle and bring it towards the right wrist. Slide the right leg back behind you. Take the left knee a little bit wider so that your belly is lined up with your ankle. And then you can soften down, or if you're enjoying that modified version, just go ahead and come onto your left hip, bend the right knee, keep the right hip a little externally rotated. And you'll start to loosen up those tissues so that sometime soon you'll be in a full-blown pigeon. And you can start to lower your belly if that's part of your plan and your intention for today. Now, a word on right and left. Our right side and our left side are sisters, not twins. So even though we look symmetrical, we have many differences in the way that our right side and our left side are built. So be gentle with yourself, be understanding that this may or may not be something that works well for you on both sides. So if on the first side you had a great experience, and this side you're having you're having more resistance, then just be comfortable with being where you are. On your next exhale, we'll start to rise back up through the chest. And then head back to your tabletop position. Take that left leg, swing it back, pause for a moment, noticing any differences in the right side versus the left side or sensations happening through the body. And then we'll come into a seated position. So here, we're going to move into a seated tree. So I'll bring my right leg to the inside of my left leg so that I've got this little setup. My left foot is lined up with my hip. My right knee is out from my right hip. Now, we'll be forward bending here. So again, remembering to bend the knee so that you're able to press your tailbone back behind you. I like to use the analogy that if the tailbone were an actual tail, we wouldn't want to feel as if it's tucked underneath us. So if my tailbone's tucked, it's really hard for me to reach towards my foot with a flat back. I immediately have to put pressure into that lumbar spine like we talked about earlier. That could potentially be dangerous. So a bent knee is a much better option. You can even walk your sit bones back a little bit so it feels like you're pressing your pubic bone down towards the mat and tipping the tailbone backwards. Now, if you have a lot of flexibility in the back of the legs, you might be able to fold forward with keeping this leg straight. But on the safe side, just keep a micro bend in the knee. We want to bring our belly button towards the thigh. Walk your hands down alongside of the leg and fold. Breathe here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and on 1, begin to walk your chest back up. We'll take the right hand behind our right hip, come up onto your shin, And reach the left arm up towards the sky while keeping that left leg straight for a little modified side plank. Feels great, like a nice stretch through this left side of the body, left side of the hip, and then lower your hips back down. And we'll change sides. So I'm actually going to spin so that you guys can take a look at how I'm folding here. So left foot on the inside of the right leg, soft bend into the knee, walk the hands down as you lower. Think of bringing the belly button onto the thigh and pause for 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Start to walk yourself back up. And now we'll take the left hand behind the left hip, rise up onto your left shin, reach the right arm up towards the sky. Feel that extension and that stretch through the right side of the body. You can even feel your skin stretching here. And then lower back down. Now keep your left leg bent. We'll take our right leg and bring it to the outside of the left thigh. And so we have this little setup for our twist. Now, you want to get the inside of your right thigh as close as you can to your belly. So recruit the crook of your elbow on the left here to help you out. Use your bicep, squeeze it in towards the body. You might already feel yourself twisting here. I'm actually going to turn to the side. So you may already feel yourself twisting, but if you need to help your body twist, think about lifting the ribs from the hips, pressing that tailbone behind you, keeping your hip points towards the leg, but moving the ribs off to the side and look back over your right shoulder. Pause and breathe here. Try and stay centered on the sit bones or even pressing that tailbone behind you. 3, 2, on 1, unwind your twist and let's change sides. So now you'll bring your right foot in towards your left glute. You'll take your left leg, cross it over the right. We want to bring that left thigh as close as we can to the belly. Bring in this right elbow to help you out, and then twist. Look back over your left shoulder. And pause here, breathing for 5, 4, 3, 2. Unwind your twist on 1. Excellent. And then let's bring the soles of the feet together into a butterfly position for external rotation into our hips and stretching of our adductor muscles. So your adductor muscles, those are those inner thigh muscles here. They have a tendency to be really tight. So we want to be gentle. Although we're being gentle on the adductor muscles, we don't want to sacrifice the flatness of the spine or the stacking of those vertebrae, protecting our back. We want to lift up nice and tall. And if that means that you have the knees all the way up towards your triceps, that's okay. But if there's a way that you can open the hips a little bit more, maybe pressing the pinky toes together can help. Or even thinking of bringing your sit bones closer to the heels. So avoid using your elbows to open up the legs. You can do that yogi toe bind, taking your peace fingers around your big toes. Soften the shoulders down the back and breathe here. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Release the legs, bring your knees together, and see if you can float your feet here, coming into a boat pose. So I'll turn towards the side. Again, protecting the lower back. So we don't want to have this round position. Use your tummy muscles. Imagine suspenders on your body, lifting your heart up, lifting your chest up, keeping those legs floating from the floor. Arms to the sides, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and on 1, with control, begin to slowly lower to the mat. Once the back of the body has met the mat, reach the arms and the legs in opposite directions. And now bring the arms out to a side for a final twist. Legs are going to come up into tabletop. And then start on your left side. So just allow the knees to fall to the left. Come over onto your left hip. Let the shoulders stay connected to the mat. So if your shoulder starts to draw away from the mat, reposition them. Maybe reposition the hip if that makes it more comfortable as well. And then let's bring our legs back through center. If you need to make any micro adjustments, you can drop the feet back down to the floor. Legs come through tabletop and we twist in the opposite direction. And now I noticed my left shoulder left the mat. So I want to reposition, bring my shoulders back down. And pause here. Start to draw the knees back through center. Lower the feet to the mat. Allow the knees to fall in opposite directions in a windshield wiper fashion. We'll draw both knees in towards the chest. Take your arms around the outsides of the legs. Give yourself a squeeze here. And then if the tailbone disconnected from the mat, bring the tailbone back down. We'll bring our hands to the tops of our knees and simply circle, knees over top of hips. Let's reverse the direction of the circle. And then return the feet down to the mat. Reach the right arm up overhead as you come on to the right side of the body. Your right ear can rest against the bicep here. We'll pause for a moment, just reflecting on the practice and reflecting on the points of gratitude that we established. Yogis, you're welcome to move into a traditional Shavasana from here. And so a good rule of thumb is to take 5 minutes of meditation for every half hour of practice. So our practice was around 45 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, and a meditation will be great for you. It gives the body an opportunity to quiet down and to let the benefits of the practice travel throughout the body. So fresh blood flow coming into those stale places that we've just opened up. It's also good to quiet the mind. And so I like to leave you with a meditative practice, meditative thought. One of my favorite beginner meditations is just simply counting the breath. So inhaling 1, exhaling 1, inhaling 2, exhaling 2, and maybe coming all the way up to the number 10 and working your way back down to 1. Yogis, I hope everyone had a safe and happy Thanksgiving, or you're having a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Be safe to those of you traveling or those of you even staying home. The light within me honors the light within each of you. Namaste.